Hello, buddy. Welcome back to Tin Man's Quarter Channel. I'm your host, Jeffrey Tin Man Taylor, and today I'm starting off my new Spooky Vibes Marathon for you guys. And the first video I'm reacting to is 3 scary Valentine's Day horror stories. So without further ado, I'm going to turn these lights off, move the camera up here for you guys, and let's get this reaction on the road and in the bag, okay? Okay, here we go.
Some people are upset that they do not have a Valentine's Day date. But me, I'm just glad that I was able to survive mine. Here's my story. Back in 2019, I was celebrating Valentine's Day with my boyfriend, Jason. We had only been dating for a year or so, and this was our first one together.
Okay.
He had invited me over to his apartment to celebrate. When I got there, his whole apartment was decorated for Valentine's Day. He had rose petals on the floor. There were bottles of champagne chilling in ice buckets. He was cooking a full-blown meal, and there were candles lit everywhere.
To be honest with you, if I was dating a nice girl, I would go the extra mile and put like a lot of Valentine's Day decorations up and try to cook a nice meal. But I don't know about the champagne. I don't drink, unless she don't mind one that's non-alcoholic, of course. But right now, I'm still cool being single at the moment. But anyway, let's continue on with this lady's story and see what happens.
I told him I was very impressed, and I gave him a big kiss for being so thoughtful. We sat down for dinner and enjoyed the meal. You could say it was the perfect romantic Valentine's Day evening.
Oh, that's so nice.
That was until Jason asked to do a shot. Now, for context, Jason struggled with alcohol in the past. In fact, when I first met him, he was drinking every day, many times blacking out. He's since been on the straight and narrow path, and I pointed this out to him, not wanting to reopen that dark door in his life. But he shook his head and said that his shot was non-alcoholic, and mine was. Something didn't feel right. The whole night had been completely normal up until this point. He held the shot up in front of my face and said, "Go on, take it." I knew I shouldn't have, but it was my boyfriend and I trusted him. So I took the shot, and that's when my whole world went black. And I woke up in his bedroom, with my hands tied very tightly together with zip ties. I looked around the bedroom nervously, trying to gather my thoughts and not remembering how I got in here. That's when I saw Jason, sitting on the edge of his bed. His head was bent, there were tears flooding down his face, and his eyes were bloodshot.
I knew it. That guy probably put some sort of sleeping medication in her shot. And once she took it, she was knocked out cold. And then she wakes up zip tied to the bed. And now that he's sitting on the edge of the bed with bloodshot eyes, he's either weeping that he's sorry for what he did, or he's really sick in the head. But I don't know. I'm just guessing at this moment. So let's just see how she gets out of this situation.
He was crying. Not caring about him crying or being upset, I demanded that he untie me now and let me go. If this was some kind of sex kink or whatever, it did not work, and I'm not okay with it. Jason stopped crying and actually started to laugh. He said it was not a sex kink that he was doing, rather, it was for revenge. Baffled, I asked him revenge for what? He looked me dead in the face, tears still falling down his cheeks, and said that he knows that I'm cheating on him. And I told him that's bullshit and that I would never do such a thing, which is true. I have never cheated, nor would cheat in any of my relationships. But his eyes seemed gone, like they were far away, and there seemed to be no reason left in them. At this point, I was terrified for my life. Jason shook his head. He said he knows that I'm lying, and that this is the punishment for cheaters.
She ain't lying, dude. She says she never cheated before in her life with her other relationships. Or with him. I believe her. He's really messed up in the head for drinking a lot, that's for sure. This is why you don't drink heavy or do drugs, because you might end up doing some sick stuff like this.
He grabbed a giant steak knife off the nightstand. When I started to bawl my eyes out, I was pleading with him that that's not the kind of person that I am. But none of it mattered. He started towards me with the knife raised and said he was going to gut me like a pig. When he stood directly above me with the knife raised, I did the only thing that I could think of and kicked my foot out. It connected with his kneecap, and his entire knee shot backwards. There was a loud cracking sound, and Jason collapsed to the floor, his leg broken the wrong way, and shrieked in agony. And I jumped up, my hand still tied by the ziplocks, and stomped on his face. I heard bones breaking in his face, and knew this was my chance to run. I sprinted down the stairs and out his front door. I ran to his next-door neighbor's house, banged on their door, and begged for them to call the police. They ushered me into the house and called the police. They arrived very fast, 3 squad cars, and I saw them taking Jason out in a gurney in handcuffs. That was only a few years ago, and it is still today the worst thing that has ever happened to me. And of course, on all the days for it to happen, it happened on Valentine's Day. Just my luck. Oh, and I'm single, by the way, and I think I might be for the rest of my life.
Thank God she thought right then and there to kick him in the leg just to make him fall backwards, and she was able to break free from the zip ties that were on his bed, stomp him in the face, and ran to his next door neighbor to get them to call the police. But that's something I would not tolerate. Even if it's like a kink fetish towards other girls, I would not zip tie or handcuff none of them to a bed at all. That just don't seem right to me. But I'm just glad she was able to get out of that apartment from that dude. I don't blame her for not want to try and go out and date somebody else after that whole experience, but you never know. She might find the right man, partner, and just start all over again with him. But you never know what will happen. I just wish the best of luck for her. So now let's get to story number 2, shall we?
Some people don't do well with rejection, and then there's some people who really don't do well with rejection, especially on Valentine's Day. Listen to this. I was working at a local hair salon as a hairstylist back in 2021. I don't mean to speak highly of myself, but I would get hit on all the time while working. And I was hit on by freshmen, college kids, dads, and sometimes even moms. My point is, it happened enough to where I just grew to accept it. Anyway, it was a Sunday, and it was Valentine's Day. I was working a double at the salon when this guy Mark walks in. Mark is what I would call a regular. He was tall but lanky. His shoulders were slouched and his head was always drooped. He's also one of those awkwardly creepy guys who does not understand social cues or boundaries. And yes, you guessed it. He's one of the guys that always hits on me. When he walked in, he of course asked for me, like always, and I gave him the usual haircut. When I spun him around in the chair to show him the haircut, he smiled and said he loved it, and then he handed me a note. This was a first. I had never received a note before, and I did not want to be rude, so I opened it in front of him and read it. The note said, "I love you, and have always loved you. Will you be my Valentine?" Even though it was a sweet gesture, I had to politely tell him no, and that I have a boyfriend, and that I'm very happy with him.
Oh, I could already tell how this will go down. You tell a man that you don't love him and you already got a boyfriend and he's really infatuated with you. He's not going to take that so well. He's going to keep on coming back to almost like harass you to be his Valentine. People like that need to learn that not every person of your dreams is going to feel the same way about you.
But Mark did not take this too well. He started to become visibly upset. His fist started to shake, and blood was rushing to his face. I took a step back, nervous that he was going to punch me or something. He snatched the note out of my hands and stormed out of the salon. Everyone who was working and getting their hair done asked me what that was about, and if I was okay. I was. Again, I was used to guys hitting on me. Maybe not to this crazy extent, but still, I was used to it. The rest of my shift went by as usual. No issues and no other crazy love notes. When it was 9 p.m., which is closing time, I swept the floors, turned off the lights, and locked the front door. As usual, I was the only one there, as I closed by myself often. I did not have a car, so I was waiting for my boyfriend to come pick me up when he texted me and said that he's out front. I looked out and saw his car parked near the back of the parking lot. I unlocked the salon door, stepped outside, and then relocked it. I started making my way over to my boyfriend's car when, suddenly, I heard rushing footsteps. By the time I turned around to see whose they belonged to, I was tackled violently to the ground. When I turned to see who this was, my heart skipped a beat as I looked directly into Mark's eyes. Except his eyes were bloodshot, and I could smell alcohol oozing from his breath. He was crying and desperate. I tried to scream, but he slapped me hard. He then grabbed my throat, shaking me, and screamed, "Why won't you be my Valentine? Why won't you love me?" I was quickly losing breath and gasping for dear life. I tried my best to fight back, but Mark was just too strong. Suddenly, just as my vision was turning black, Mark flew off me. When I sat up, breathing in deep breaths of fresh air, I could see my boyfriend had sprinted from his car and tackled Mark. The two were in a death fight on the ground. My boyfriend was pummeling his face in. I got up, taking deep breaths, and went over to try to help. That's when Mark punched my boyfriend in the jaw and then sprinted away into the night. My boyfriend tried to chase after him, but I told him not to. He might have a weapon. He agreed and asked if I was okay, as blood dripped from his knuckles. I was okay, but definitely shaken up. We ended up making a report with the police and went to the hospital to make sure everything was all right. My boyfriend needed stitches in 2 of his knuckles, but I was fine. The police never ended up catching Mark. The only information he gave us when he came in for a haircut was his first name and cell phone number. When the police tried to call it, they got a dead line. I've since become a traveling hairstylist. I take care of clients in their own homes. To me, it's safer, because now I don't have to deal with random psychos walking in and wanting to kill me because I rejected them. I never saw Mark again, and I'm perfectly fine with that.
Thank God her boyfriend got out of the car and ran over to her rescue, because if he didn't, she would have been dead over someone's lovesick infatuation for her. I might have said it in another video before, but I said if a man puts his hands on a woman, he ain't a man at all. And I figured that when they called the phone number that he provided, he would have already disconnected it because he didn't want nobody, like the police, talking to him. And he probably skipped town. But anyway, I'm glad she's still pursuing her career as a hairstylist, even though she's not at a salon anymore. She's just traveling to different people's homes to do it. But still, that's seems a bit safer instead of just waiting for a psycho, like she said.
A few years back, my friend Michelle and I were both walking home from school on Valentine's Day. We were both single and did not really care about the holiday like that. We saw it more as a money grab than actual love. We were talking about this exact subject when, while walking down the sidewalk, just a few houses ahead, I saw a man wearing an all-white mask. He was standing behind some tall bushes, trying to be discreet, but I saw him. The mask was blank white and had 2 black holes for eyes. It sort of reminded me of Michael Myers. I told Michelle to stop and pointed at the man behind the bushes. But as soon as Michelle looked in the direction that I was pointing in, the man in the mask was gone. Michelle said it was probably just some kid being an idiot and running around in a mask. I remember thinking that she was probably right, and by the time that I got to my house and said goodbye to Michelle, I had completely forgotten about the guy with the mask. Later that night, I was laying in my bed, just scrolling through social media, and gagging at all the Valentine's Day posts from couples who I knew were cheating on each other when I got a text message. It was from an unknown number, but a local area code. The text said, "Will you be my Valentine?" This made me chuckle. I figured maybe it was Michelle or somebody else texting me from a fake number, trying to mess with me. I texted back, "Sorry, not interested." Moments later, the person texted back. It said, "I'll ask you one more time. Will you be my Valentine?" I just wasn't amused anymore and texted back, "No." Not even 5 minutes after I sent that message, there was suddenly loud banging on my front door from downstairs. This freaked me out, and I was suddenly remembering that man in the white mask I saw earlier behind the bushes. Maybe this was that person texting me now, and now knocking at my door at midnight. I heard my dad starting to go downstairs to answer the door. I followed behind him, warning him that it could be someone dangerous. He slowly opened the door and shrieked back in horror. From where I was standing, I could not see anything, but my father pulled the front door all the way open. My mouth dropped in horror. Our front door was covered in what I hope was only red paint. But even worse, my high school photo was hanging on the door, stabbed with a gigantic knife. There was a picture of my high school photo, except both my eyes were cut out. I grabbed the photo from the door and turned it over. On the back, written in red, was, "You should have said yes." And that's when I saw the plain white mask on the front steps. We never found out who did this.
I bet you it was probably a crazy student at the school that she went to who was really in love with her, but once she said no, he had to send a death threat, basically. But man, I wish they were able to figure out who it was, or if they called the police, they probably could have got some sweat DNA off the mask. Or that guy probably took the precaution and cleaned it out. You never know. I'll be installing security cameras because if that guy came back with a weapon and act like he was going to break in the house to kill one of my kids, well, I'll be ready. Take that sucker down for good and have him arrested. Because that's just wrong. That you threaten a girl that don't want to be with you on Valentine's Day. But I'm just glad that nothing didn't happen to her and she's all right. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on post notifications for more spooky vibes content like this. This has been another successful installment of the Tin Man's Corner channel. I'm your host, Jeffrey Tin Man Taylor. I said that's a wrap. And that's day, y'all.